I think you completed those 500 questions after you got laid off, right? I think maybe in 1 or 2 months you covered so many
Right,
questions.
right.
Yeah, so that's really inspiring. Actually, we know how hard those questions can be, and it takes a lot of willpower and consistency to get that much done in the short span of time.
I was
Yeah.
without a job, dude. What do you
Hello,
expect?
everyone. Today we have with us my classmate Raghu. So I always considered him as one of my competitors in class, and like recently he had got into a good company, but due to COVID, they got laid off, and still he hustled through and got into like many good companies. And today he's here with us to share his interview experience with JustPay, which he recently cracked. Hi, Raghu.
Hi, Shashank. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good. How are you?
Fine. Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, recently I appeared for the JustPay interview, and
Mhm.
I'd like to share some experiences that might potentially help your viewers and our juniors who are also
Yeah.
going through this same phase right now. The JustPay interview was quite unique and definitely uh, one of the most unique interviews that I've ever experienced. And unique in the sense that they have a pretty holistic view about how they are evaluating you as a candidate. And one of the key things is that as we all freshers know that most of the interviews circle around their problem solving skills and RDS and algorithm skills, and certainly JustPay covered that, a good deal of it, but it wasn't entirely about that. They had a strong emphasis on your understanding of the system fundamentals and basically just how you come up with and go through solving a problem that you don't have much background or initial data about, like what you're supposed to exactly do. So
Hmm.
in those senses, I think yeah, it was quite unique.
Mhm. So the reason it is being unique, it will test you like how you will be perform when there is some unpredictable circumstances more.
Yeah, right.
Right. So how are all the interview process? Like when did you apply? How did you get shortlisted? And what were the initial rounds?
Right. So I actually one of my friend got interviewed with JustPay and he got an offer. And I heard about
Mhm.
JustPay first from him. And so I
Mhm.
went through their website. I kind of like the tech stack that they're working with and how on their website they have mentioned that for developers, by developers. So it kind of piqued
Mhm.
my interest. And I basically just sent a mail to the careers at justpay.in email that they had listed at the bottom of the page because I
Mhm.
wasn't sure which role to apply for because they were also functional programmer and software engineer. So I just sent a mail, wrote that software engineer backend, and gave listed out some of my background and attached my resume, and uh, they reached out in a few days. So
Mhm.
that was for the application. And on reaching out, they said that I'll be receiving a test link for the first
Mhm.
round. And she said that once I've cleared that round, they'll be guiding me through the process. The recruiter
Mhm.
was quite friendly, and uh, yeah, she certainly helped a lot. And so I got the test link. And so just to give an overview of the structure, uh, there's an online test, the online assessment that's pretty common with any interviews. That was
Mhm.
pretty much the same as you might experience. And after that, there's a two-part hackathon. So there's a part A where you'll have 3 hours and you'll be given one question that you need to solve. And once
Mhm.
you have done that, they'll again filter through the candidates and get back to you for part B. And part B is kind of, it goes all day round. There's no specific time set for it, but uh, I think you can either finish it maybe in 6 hours, maybe in eight, or if, sometimes it might even extend till 10. So that's
Mhm.
totally up to you and the person you are interviewing with. And
Yeah.
past that round, we also have a technical interview. And after that technical interview, there's the HR round, or you can say behavioral round, something like that. And
Mhm.
at the end, considering you have cleared all the rounds, you're supposed to meet with the CEO. But
Mhm.
in my case, I was unable to go with that last round because the CEO apparently he had some family issue that he had to attend. So yeah, I skipped that, but hopefully I'll be able to get in touch with him.
Mhm. Okay. So, how are the difficulty level of like what kind of pattern was it like? Did you get DSA questions or theory subject questions?
Yeah. So for the first two online tests that we had, I noticed that the questions were they majorly emphasized on graphs and trees. Regarding the difficulty in the first round, there were three graph questions, and one of them was quite easy. It was very straightforward. The other two would be, I would say, medium. One was kind of easy medium, and the other one was kind of slightly above medium, but certainly doable.
Okay. What was
Uh,
the time duration?
uh,
I
yes.
think around 1.5 hour, I think.
Yeah, yeah, 90 minutes, right? Around 90 minutes.
Right. And further any rounds did you get the DSA questions?
Yeah, so the DSA question was in this one first round, and in the second round, there, as I said, there was again another question, and it was just a single question. Uh, so the thing is that the question in itself wasn't very difficult. It required some thinking and analysis, but it like in 3 hours you can certainly come up with a good solution. So I think I made a mistake there because I assumed that since it is of 3 hours and this question is certainly doable in a short span of time, maybe they want to evaluate how you write your code. And with that, I started going through all the object oriented programming kind of constructs, and I'm creating class for a tree and class for a node, and basically all the features and methods. I'm calling those nodes in the tree class and things like that. And it got a bit complicated, but I don't think it was required because in the next round during the hackathon, I just refactored the code and got it back to the most lean state possible.
Okay, got it.
So, yeah.
So I think we can move to some common Q&A. So does the CGPA matter?
Yeah, Shashank. So, I think that is a question that we all often think about. Uh, so, I would say that if you're going for software engineering jobs specifically, I would say it doesn't matter as much as someone might think it does. But I'd still say that you try to maintain a decent CGPA because it would keep your options open in future. Considering maybe if you want to transition to some other field, some people I've seen that they want to pursue uh, MBA or maybe their master's degree. So I think in those cases, it'd be nice if you maintain a good CGPA. But from a job perspective in software engineering, I think you can definitely, even if you have a low CGPA, you can work your way through to good
Yeah.
opportunities.
Yeah. So like if they're almost towards the end and it's not that good enough, but it's still okay, no worries in terms of job. But if they
Right,
still have the chance to get a decent level, they should do that.
right, right.
Got it.
Exactly.
So CP versus competitive programming versus standard ESA.
Uh, yeah. So I think that uh, CP and I think Shashank, even you can cover this better. That CP is quite different than standard DSA because you have been into CP and I haven't been into CP. I've just done standard DSA. So from what I understand, if you're just doing it for the purpose of a job, I don't think you should get into competitive programming because you probably won't enjoy it as much as someone who's doing it because he loves it. And CP would be pretty much an overkill for a job because more often than not, the common questions that you'll probably face in a competitive programming test, you won't get that level of difficulty in a general interview. But
Right.
yeah, if you're doing CP, it definitely helps a lot.
Got it. So is interview only about DSA or problem solving?
Uh, I wouldn't say that it definitely goes beyond just DSA and problem solving. So one thing like that you have to consider is that you should have good system fundamentals. You should have those clear, like operating systems and the networking concepts that are taught during your third year classes. So I've definitely had some trouble with that. because at the end of college, I kind of forgot about it because we don't work with it. But
Hmm.
we need to realize that we are still a fresher, and someone who's interviewing us certainly expects us to know those concepts. So I've
Yeah.
slipped there, and yeah, I try to focus there.
Yeah. So, like, especially I think for JustPay operating system and computer architecture, these kind of topics are little more important, right?
Yes, yes and no. Uh, I would say yeah, both. So,
Hmm.
from the interview point of view, what I feel is I've seen that they pay good attention to how you understand and interpret concurrency and parallelism, both in
Hmm.
code and in a system.
Hmm.
From the operating system point of view, they from from the interview that I had, they didn't have a specific emphasis that you need
Hmm.
to tell me how exactly this is happening, but they'll promote you to just think and come up with it on your own. Like, if
Hmm.
suppose if you are Dennis Ritchie, as the interview asked me, how would you design
Hmm.
this system?
Hmm.
So
Got it. Yeah. Does programming language matter?
uh, I think it does and it doesn't. So, from how I've seen the interviews go, and even from my own experiences working with the company, uh, if you're familiar with the programming language that they are using, it's certainly helpful because they consider it that you're well versed with it, and if you are, then your onboarding would be faster and you'll get up to speed on their tech stack quickly.
Hmm.
But I think most of the companies don't pay that much attention because if you perform well in the interview, then you can certainly pick up another language that you can work with. But it's definitely good if someone sticks with a language that has roots like C++ or maybe Java compared to
Okay.
Python.
Hmm. So, what language do you code in, like for hackathon, oops, and all? Which language did you choose?
Yeah, so professionally, I am currently working with Python, but still, if I'm interviewing or giving an online test, I'll always go with C++.
Got it. And do you have any suggestions for candidates before the interview?
Uh, yeah, so I think that before the interview, we all feel certainly stressed, and as you are reaching the time of the interview, the levels start peaking.
Hmm.
So it's just that uh, be under control. It's not like the interviewer is there to fail you intentionally. Uh,
Hmm.
just put yourself, if you put yourself on the in the interviewer's shoes, he's just evaluating you based on whether he'll enjoy working with you as a co-worker or not, and whether he feels you're competent enough to get up to speed on their stack and work with them. uh, so if you keep this in mind, I think it certainly helps during the interview.
Okay. And do you have any particular suggestions, like if they have one day before interview, 1 week before interview?
Yeah. So, if you're short on time, suppose in case of 1 day or from 1 day to a week, I think you should spend it very judiciously. And I think the best way to do that would be to just go through the previous questions asked by that company, or go through their interview experiences that you can definitely find on sites like Geeks for Geeks, or
Hmm.
even their Glassdoor interview section.
Hmm.
So, based on that, maybe you won't be asked the same question again. Maybe you'll be asked a variation of it, but you'll definitely get an idea of the difficulty or the common themes that you
Right.
can expect.
Yeah. Even if the caution won't repeat, but the pattern can be similar.
Right, right.
Right. So, do you have any suggestions for during the interview?
Yeah. So during the interview, I'd say just be calm, be composed. From what I feel during an interview, my mind certainly kind of works at a pace that even I don't understand or can
Mhm.
properly control.
Yeah.
So it's important to stay relaxed and just think like you would normally do, and
Mm-hmm.
don't feel that time is running out every second by second.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe you can ask the interviewer just to give you a few seconds of break to just collect your thoughts or think in case you're getting nervous. Have some water,
Right.
keep a glass of water nearby.
Mm-hmm. Right. And yeah, so maybe instead of worrying about the result, we should just try to enjoy the process and get some
Right, right,
experience out of it. Yeah.
right. Exactly as you said.
Mm. Do you have any suggestions for after interview, like if it is a positive or negative outcome?
Yeah. So mostly at the end of the interview, we have an idea that whether we perform well or not, and uh, if you performed well, that's good. If you did something nice or maybe came up with an idea or said something that was nice, maybe keep a note of it. You might reuse it, and if
Mm.
something went wrong, then obviously you need to work on that. Uh, but post the interview, if it didn't go well, if it was a disaster completely, I'd say don't like completely give up, because it doesn't mean that you're bad. Maybe you were not able to perform well on that one, but don't lower your expectations. Just keep trying.
Got it. Do you want to share some pro tips?
Uh, so yeah, so I'd just say that if you are working professionally already and planning for a switch, uh, it's it's hard to like get some time to work on your own things when you're working on a full-time job. So I'd just say that even if you're working on a full-time job, make sure that you're doing something beyond that. And it's not just
Mm.
interview prep specifically, but maybe you can learn about systems or improve yourself as a general programmer. Basically anything, but just do something beyond your job.
Yeah, right. Do you want to suggest anything regarding mindset? Like you suggested, like we should be calm and confident. Do you have any tips or suggestions on that more?
Uh, I I think that as I just earlier quoted that during an interview, just understand that the other person, he's trying to evaluate you on the basis
Mm.
of whether you will be able to work in the company or not, and whether they'll enjoy working with you or not. So
Mm.
it's best that we just try to be calm and just be yourself,
Mm.
and don't freak out and ask some clarifying questions, and just
Mm.
try to just show a little bit of interest in the company. And I hope that someone who's applying does have some
Mm.
interest in the company, because else what's
Mm.
the point of working there?
Yeah, got it. Do you want to share any personal experience, like any funny incidents during an interview?
Yeah, I have one funny experience. So it was the HR round, right? And like
Mm.
from what I collected based on the interview experiences and stuff, I see that they'll just ask some behavioral sort of questions and all. Even
Mm.
my friend who gave the interview, I asked him like, just give me an idea, and they were like
Mm.
kind of questions that you would expect in a behavioral interview. So
Mm.
I joined the interview thinking about that. Uh,
Mm.
so and it started that way. I got some behavioral questions, but
Mm.
then all of a sudden, somehow 3D geometry got involved, and I have no idea how. Like till then, I'm assuming that it's some HR, and I don't know why he's asking me 3D geometry questions. But it kind of got me unsettled. But okay,
Okay.
I'm thinking. So he gave me a question around like there's a 3D cube and these are the
Mm.
points, and basically we'll be modifying or reconstructing that 3D cube, and you need to show how that will look, or what how you can represent it in 3D or things around that. So
Mm.
first I tried thinking, then he said that you can use a pen and a paper. So I
Okay.
took out my diary and I started drawing some things and discussing with him. And like I basically turned on my video and I'm showing it to by holding my notebook up. So
Okay.
yeah, that was quite odd. Like you don't walk into a behavioral interview thinking that you'll be asked 3D geometry.
Yeah. Like, are you sure he was a HR or the hiring manager or
No, no, no,
something?
no. Yeah, yeah. So later on, I kind of checked his LinkedIn, and I found out that he was a product manager and he had a
Uh,
pretty strong engineering background.
uh-huh.
So,
So I think, yeah, that's what I usually in hiring manager rounds, right? They have this mix of a behavioral plus some puzzles or tech related. Yeah.
right.
So do you want to share some any other like, personal experience, like how hard it was for you to like hustle through these opportunities, and did you have to sacrifice anything to obtain these?
Oh yeah, so it was kind of stressful last year, Shashank. As you might know, I kind of had to face a layoff, and during that
Mm,
time it got pretty tough because you're in a pandemic and there are less jobs and everything around that. But
mm,
yeah, I think during college I didn't focus much on DSA. Like I studied it properly in second year, and then I almost forgot about it. I got
mm,
interested and completely inclined towards data science and ML.
uh,
But now that I realize that I'm more interested as a software engineer, I realize that I can't just go ahead without it. So
mm,
I had to do much of it, and there's a lot of grinding involved. But so I think I made mistakes there too. Like I was grinding nonstop without thinking, and I
mhm,
think uh, I solved like around 500 or more lead code questions. And
mhm,
by that time, I started feeling a little bit more confident. Uh, but I wouldn't suggest that someone who's preparing or starting his preparation go the same way. If you have time, if you're still in college, maybe start prepping now. If you're
mm,
not in college, then just study smart. Don't grind
mm,
day and night without thinking. Uh,
mm,
do it in a planned manner. And
mm,
last would be that some of my friends and folks that I know from my company
mm,
or from college, they are also preparing. And basically, I've seen people get stuck with this phase where they are just planning things like, how should I do
mhm.
this? How should I do that? What order should I follow? And
Right.
in that case, I think that just start, don't think about it.
Mm,
If you
mm,
if you directly jump to graph questions, and
mm,
you'll understand it, and if you don't, just Google it. And it's
mm,
okay if you study graph first and then go back to linked list. There's no
mm,
set way to that you must start from hashing and linked list and then graphs and trees. So
mm.
just start somewhere.
Right. So yeah,
And
even we
last,
kind of get in the loop of keeping on planning at times. But yeah, like only when you start executing, right, we'll actually end up learning and getting to see the results.
right, and like
Mm.
I add the last pro tip that you can follow Shashank too. I know that he's doing some great work in this space, and certainly nice what you're trying to create here, and I'm intently following it.
Thank you very much. Yeah, and just for the our information, like I think you completed those 500 questions after you got laid off, right? I think maybe in 1 or 2 months you covered so many
Right,
questions.
right.
Yeah, so that's really inspiring. Actually, we know how hard those questions can be, and it takes a lot of willpower and consistency to get that much done in the short span of time.
I was
Yeah,
without a job, dude. What do you expect?
yeah, yeah, right. But like we cannot say like such a stunts like everyone can do. So it's better they start slow and
Right, right.
take it easy from beginning itself. Right.
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay, Rivaj, I think we can end the session for now. Thank you for being with us, and looking forward to have you for your other companies that you have cracked.
Thanks a lot, Visham.